After understanding the effect of tax on the demand side, it is pertinent to understand its effect on the supply side. So in this video we will learn about the effect of tax on the supply side when it happens to market equilibrium. So the demand and supply functions, we should have their initial values. Here we have the demand function and we have the supply function. Primarily the first thing that we should do is to find out their initial or original equilibrium, so that we become able to compare it with the equilibrium after the tax. So the demand and supply, they are equated here, the left hand side, the right hand side. We can solve this very easily. The answer would be price of equilibrium would be 52, and then we can find the equilibrium output by putting this price value either in the demand function or supply function. So here we substituted the value 52 and we solved this simple expression and we found the equilibrium output, which is 124. So the equilibrium price is 52 and equilibrium output is 124. Now we consider the main thing, that is to consider the effect of tax on the producer, and it is rupee 2 per unit. So primarily we consider the notation as small t and we incorporate it in the supply function, because we know it is on the producer, so supplier is going to face the effect of the tax. This is why we used ST, the new supply function, that is supply after tax. So this is P minus T and T is equal to 2 in this case. So we now write 2 as the amount of tax, and it is being deducted from the supply side, the price that the producer is going to receive, because he has to pay the tax. So the price that he can keep is not the same price, it will be 2 deducted from the price that he received before. Now 16 plus 2p will be the answer of this simplification. Now we are in a position to reanalyze the equilibrium by equating D and ST, that is the original demand curve and the post-tax supply curve. This was the original demand curve and this is the post-tax supply curve. We can solve them easily and the equilibrium outcome will be 53.6. Now we can put this value here in the demand function or the supply function. We will get the same answer. Here we have used the post-tax supply function, and this is why we are having 16.2 into the price, which is 53.6. So the post-tax equilibrium output is 123.2. Now we can see the outcome in diagrammatical way. You can see the quantities on x-axis, this is the origin, and price is on the y-axis. This is the original demand curve, this is the green one, this is the original supply curve, and the blue one is the post-tax supply curve. The shifting has taken place and the equilibrium has shifted from E to ET. Consequently, the equilibrium output has increased from 52 to 50. Correction, it is price. The price has increased from 52 to 53.6, and the equilibrium output has decreased from 124 units to 123.2 units. So this is quite evident and expected, because the price had to increase after the imposition of tax and the equilibrium output had to be discouraged a little bit, and which is evident from the graph. Now we can do further analysis with the revenue and how the revenue gets affected. We are going to calculate the revenue before and after the imposition of the tax. Now it is more relevant, that is the shares before tax and after tax. The tax, as we are already informed, is equal to 2 currency units, and the consumer share is 1.6 and the producer share is 0.4. We can see it from the diagram, though it's a small change visible in this graph, but still it makes sense. as the total tax is 2 and the previous price was 52 and the new price is 53.6. The difference between the two is 1.6. So this increase in the price is going to be shifted to the consumer, whereas out of 2, if we subtract this share of consumer, the remaining share of the tax would be borne by the producer, which would be 0.4, that is 2 minus 1.6, and it becomes 0.4. So this should be here somewhere below this red line. This should be the share of the producer, whereas between the red and the blue lines we have the share of the consumer that consumer has to bear. Now we can observe the revenue of the producer before and after the imposition of the tax. So before the tax, the revenue can be calculated by multiplying price and output. However, both of them should be before tax. So the before tax price was 52 and before tax output was 124. Multiplying them, we get the revenue before tax. Now we come to the after tax situation, where price after tax and output after tax should be multiplied. And before we do that, we need to focus on the price, because it can get a little tricky, as the price that the producer is actually retaining is what matters. So the price initially was 52, and out of 52, if we subtract the share that the producer is facing of the revenue, which is 0.4, then the price would be 51.6. This is the original price, as P stands for original price, and the tax burden that producer is facing is 0.4. So he gets to keep $51.6 or rupees or any currency unit. So this price that he has actually retained gets multiplied with the new equilibrium output, which is 123.2. Multiplying them, we get the revenue after the tax. So this means that this is the amount that is actually retained by the producer. Therefore we use that price which is actually retained by the producer, which is 51.6. This is how we calculated it. Now we have the change in the revenue. Initially it was this much and now it has reduced. So the difference between 6,448 and 6,357.12 is this. So actually there is a decline in the producer's revenue, which is logical, because we know that after tax the discouraging environment sets in, and due to that there is a decline in the revenue. This is the description of what we have already done, and you can pause the video and read it, because we have already understood this thing and described it as well. This is further help for you. Now you know that how we can incorporate the effect of the producer's tax in the market equilibrium, and we can also calculate the revenue change in the producer's accounts. And this was the diagram. This was the post-tax equilibrium, and this was the pre-tax equilibrium. This is how we can analyze the effect of the tax on the supply side. Thank you.